1 minute warning.
Not by my watch.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to be
By mine
sometime. But
How do you set, how does it set a state
Right.
off?
that's what I'd heard.
It's 7 o'clock. I will call our meeting to order. And Kevin, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
We have all members of council present. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. And this is March 8th, 2022. Are there any additions to the agenda this evening? Hearing none, let's go into the minutes of our February 22nd, 2022 meeting. And you should have a copy of those. If you want to take a minute to make sure everything is accurate, that is fine, especially the two motions on page 2. And Mr. Hannah, thank you for helping out with that for these minutes, providing that information. And
I'll move the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mrs. Sweet, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Abstain.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, those minutes are approved as submitted. Let's go into finances, and we have a lot of paperwork tonight on numbers. So we have January figures, we have February figures, and then we have 2 bank reconciliations that need approved. I think a reasonable way to, and of course you have all the reports in front of you, but a reasonable way would be, let's look at where we are at right now at the end of February. So as of the 28th, and I think these should be in proper order, and as far as fund balances, the general fund, $148,131. Street construction, repair fund, $53,595. And there's that federal grant at negative $110,000. We'll take care of that a little bit later this year as well. The American Rescue Plan Act, $124,968. The police levy, $153,148. And let's see, let's go to the water operating. We have $166,596, and then of course $200,000 in the water contingency fund. On the revenue status, again, remember that first page, page number 1, we've got some court fines, fees that we've collected, and it looks like a little bit of local government distribution that's come in. But remember, the main part of that general fund, the property taxes, those will come in probably, I'm going to guess, within the next week or 2 for the first half of our collections. So you don't see a whole lot down there as far as received year to date. But again, in the next week or 2, that will be changing. On the next page, this would be page 2 on the back side. Street maintenance and repair, we've received about $33,000, or about 16%, which is right where we should be. And that revenue does come in, as a reminder, on a monthly basis. Let's go over to, we'll look at the police levy, and that's on page 3. And again, that revenue will be included with that first half of real estate taxes that would be collected as well. Page number 4, So on the back side, under water operating, we've received about $159,000, which represents about 14.5%. And total, 9.6% has been received. Let's look at the appropriation status. So for the general fund, I think we're going to have to go to page 2 to see expenditures. Right on track, about 16%. On our street fund, that would be on page 3. Again, about 16%. And we have spent no money from our the ARPA funds. Looking at the police levy on page 4, we are, well, again, about 16%. Very consistent. And let's see, let's go over to the water fund. That'll be on the last page. That'll be page 6. And we're about 15%. For a total of about 13.6%. And again, you've got the numbers for the funds, the revenue status, and the appropriation status. That would have been for the end of January. And of course, the Hinkle report has been filed, and if anybody wants a copy of that, let me know, and I'll make sure you get a copy, and that's filed with the state. And again, Larry Weeks with Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett provides that service for the village. Any questions?
So we need to approve the bank reconciliation for January and February. Is that
That's correct.
Okay. I'll move that we accept the bank reconciliation as presented for January. Or do we want to do them together? Separate?
I think together would be fine.
Okay. January and February, as presented.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Whitaker and second by Mr. Bear. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion is approved. Let's go into communications. I had just a couple quick items. First of all, it's that time of year again. We're looking for that outstanding citizen in the Enon community. You don't have to be an actual resident of the village. So we are accepting nominations for the 2021 Citizen and Young Citizen of the Year. And Kevin, is that like put on our Facebook?
I thought it was already.
Is it? Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already done and I know it seems like do we send out letters
Send out letters to churches and
to
organizations,
churches?
I guess.
Okay,
yes.
very good. So if you know somebody, get your nomination in. The other thing I want to bring to everyone's attention, it's getting to be spring. It's that time of year. People are looking at buying campers and other recreational vehicles. Know where to put those before you buy them. So make sure you check with the village. We are pretty lenient when people buy new campers, new RVs. We allow a certain period for them to be in a driveway, but typically, Kevin, they've got to be behind the front of the house?
Behind the front of the house, yes.
Behind the front of the house. But we like to work with people. And just one reminder that Kevin goes out probably in the spring and summer or fall, like once a week, and is looking for things that might need attention, where we would either send a notice or stop and talk to a property owner in regards to code enforcement, things like inoperative vehicles, and that could include things with expired tags, flat tires, a car that's just been sitting and it just can't run any longer. So those type of issues, could turn into a violation, but as always, the village tries to work with property owners first. But just kind of a heads up, it's that time of year again, and they're going to be making the rounds. So. And that's all I had. Any other communication from council? All right, let's go into staff reports. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council, residents. Let me get my stuff over here. You have in your packet the February Mayor's Court Report. There was 7 traffic cases for February. Total funds received was $608. Year-to-date, $2,228. Total funds remitted to the state in February was $95. Year-to-date, $320. Total remitted to the village, $510. Year-to-date, $1,896. And total dispersed, $608. $2,228 year-to-date.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I did reach out to Choice One Engineering and CMT Engineering to get a price on site plan ideas for the vacant lot on Main Street that the village purchased. Choice One Engineering came back at $2,450. CMT come back at $4,725. Now this just basically encompasses. They're going to give us ideas of what may work, what definitely won't work. They're not going to have any type of drawings or anything like this. They're just going to go in and say, basically, we can put this size of building on there. It may work in this spot, not in this spot. They're waiting on the topo survey actually before they can do any drainage plan or anything like that. So, and we're still waiting on Shoal Surveying to get in there to survey that. So once he gets that surveyed, part of that survey is the topo survey, and then they'll be able to give us a more exact price on a drainage plan. So
When is that survey supposed to be completed?
it was supposed to be at the end of the month, so February.
Okay, so he's obviously running behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I assume he's going to get in there because he said barring any more snow or anything like that, he'll get it done. But he's running a little bit behind. So we're still
This
waiting
would
on
give us a conceptual, this would give us an idea as to what we could do
right
on the property.
right. Yes.
But we can't do anything, if council were to decide, you can't do anything until that survey comes in.
For any drainage plan or
Yeah.
anything like this. This does not include the drainage plan. I talked to Craig today, this afternoon, just to clarify a few things. Once they get the topo survey, then they can develop some sort of drainage plan.
So what would this include?
This includes concept plan and site evaluation for a new building, where it may work, where it won't work, a driveway, parking lot, things like that.
So like a conceptual type of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, were they given overarching parameters as far as what we, from a village perspective, might want to do with that property? As far as from a maintenance overflow or main
Right.
main facility?
When I talked to him, they didn't. I mean, we didn't talk about what we had a plan going, so it was kind of hard for them to, actually
I mean,
come
I'm
up
trying to
with
figure
it.
out the value add. What can they do? I mean, putting a building, but why would they even propose a building if they have no idea what we would do with that building? What's the value added?
That I went in my initial meeting. I said we were going to use it as a maintenance shop, to get our all of our, or the majority of our vehicles, down there and store, whether it's a 4-bay building, 5-bay building, whatever, so they can go out to these.
So they have those parameters?
Yes,
Okay, well,
yes.
that's fine.
Yes. So they can go out to these companies and say, okay, what, this size of building, how much area is it going to take up, where, then they can come back and look at our zoning and things like that and see setbacks and where it can be placed.
They would have to look, we would have to provide them information with zoning, information, the use, the number of vehicles and that type of stuff. Then they would be able to come back and say, hey, yeah, you can get this in here this way, or you're not going to get this. It's not, we just don't think it's going to work for you
Right.
with all that.
Right. With all that we want to do with it, store vehicles, however many vehicles, it may come back and say, well, it's just not feasible. There's not enough land there or something.
I
don't
would
know.
like to see that. I would like to see that, the result of that. But I don't know that we're at that point if we need to have that survey done first.
The survey's for the topo, for the drainage, and that's separate from this. The drainage, because the survey is not done, they couldn't do a drainage plan as of yet, so,
Okay.
yeah. So this is kind of like step one to get a good old site evaluation of what may work and what won't work.
I'd like for us to be cautious on moving forward on any type of further expenditures on that property until we can look at other options that we may be looking at rather than that property itself. I think that perhaps this joint venture might be more advantageous to a more general building than to spend any money on a short, I don't want to say a short-sighted plan, but maybe a plan that might be better served with having more property in the near future, respectfully.
I mean, knowing that we're going to be spending money otherwise, is the timing right to do this? To spend whatever it is, $2,500, $2,600, $2,700 now, knowing that we're going to be, there's a plan to purchase other property. If that plan is actually enacted, then that's probably going to take a lot of our funds that would then basically stall any efforts to improve that property from building on it and putting our equipment out there, even though that was why we purchased it, and that was a great plan at the time, but then something else came up. And
Right.
not that it was a squirrel, but, from a community standpoint, it helps the community more by doing the other thing than this. Is the timing really right to spend money to $2,500 to do this at this point in time?
I don't think it's urgent. I think we have a piece of property and we had a plan that we have laid out that, this is just my opinion, that we should stick to at this point, but to do it right this second, no, I don't think we have to, but I think it would be nice to know if our original plan is going to work on that property. And if not, what might be other options we would have for the property?
Well, no matter what we do, we'd need the survey done, right? So that's
Well, the
a
drainage,
given for that.
The
The
survey or
survey
For
has
the
to be
drainage,
done
right.
for drainage and property line.
So no matter what we do with it, we'd need that.
We do.
But the $2,500 isn't that.
No,
No.
that's not that,
Right.
no.
No.
I mean, that one's a done deal. I mean, we need to know that.
Yeah. 'Cause
So we could hold off on that.
Yeah. We need, like I said, the survey is a must because the sewer line cuts across, the church property there, and we got to know where the boundary is so we can get an easement or, right away, from the church.
But
Or
in
the
my
sewer,
mind,
so.
at some point, let's put it this way, we need to know, can we carry through with our initial plan on that property? Or if we can't, what can we use it for?
Right, what even our options are.
What are options? That just makes sense. So,
But, right, but wouldn't that?
no hurry.
But wouldn't you normally want to know that, Tim, when you're ready to do something with it, rather than do it now and then maybe we would have to wait 4 or 5 years before we actually have the funds to do that, things may change. So,
Very possible.
and until we know how much money's left, if any, from the potential of the other purchase, I'm just recommending that we hold off on this one.
Yeah. I mean, like Tim said, I don't think there's a rush to do it right now anyway. So, I mean, I appreciate you reaching out to, at least get us some options if we go down that road.
That's fine. Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep. Next on the agenda there, my agenda, you have your annual report of operations for, it was filled out so that you can read that at your leisure. Gives a kind of a great example of what happened in 2021, what all took place, and so that's all.
I appreciate you guys putting that together. It kind of collects everything and tells you where you're at, where you need to go.
Reading through it, it kind of, you forget that you did some of that stuff,
Yeah.
It's like,
A ton of stuff in
we
there.
did that.
It's great reading. There's no doubt about it.
So, next on my agenda, I was looking into, a while back, trading in our oldest zero-turn. We have a 2000, well, actually, it's the second oldest. So we have a 2006 zero-turn mower with 13,748 hours on it. At the time I looked, a few months back, none was available for trade-in due to the situation of everything going on, and dealers wasn't sure if they were going to get any, and they couldn't lock in a price, and all, the same old story. So I did reach out to one dealer there in Springfield, and he can't get any X-marks, snappers, things like that. He said his suppliers they're not committing to anything. So I did get a price on a Hustler from New Carlisle. They're small engine service pros, and they're 6 weeks out. Time they get the PO for it. It's a brand new one, Super Z, 60-inch deck. Our price for that is $13,748.82. I did take our mower over to them to see what trade-in would be on our mower, and he said that they could only give us $600 for our mower. He suggested to, try the government, like Gov Deals and stuff like that.
Or
So I
run it till
put
it's
that
in.
on Gov Deals, and we are at $3,080 right now. So, and the auction stops on Sunday, the 15th, something like, yeah.
Well, then
This
you
coming
can buy-
Sunday.
You can buy a sun canopy for that new tractor then.
So that'll mark it down. Whatever we get, that'll mark it at least down, $10,000, and that's what I think we paid for the one we're trading in, back in the day.
Back in the
So,
day.
yeah.
What's the problem with the mowers? I'm not understanding.
I went through it last year with a zero-turn. It took me 6 months to get one.
What, what?
Who'd you go through in Springfield? Did you go to Compton?
Coleman's.
Coleman's?
Yeah.
Try Compton, too.
Okay.
They were good about finding me one.
Okay.
It took some time to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. He said that the guy at Small Engines there. He said they're about 6 weeks out. So just people want them. People don't have parts.
Manufacturers,
And
right.
manufacturer doesn't have parts, and once they get a PO, they're doing the commercial people quicker than they are residential people.
Right.
He said. And once you get a PO, then he can kind of bump it up on the list. But he said, worst case scenario is going to be 6 weeks anyhow, time you get it. So,
But in answer to Tim's question, what is the issue with ours?
with ours, we did just put a new clutch in it. The frame has been welded. It was cracked. It was welded. The hours on it, and it's one of the oldest. We try to keep them
And what was
in
the year?
rotation. 2006.
Oh, okay.
So
Almost 14,000 hours.
yes.
Yeah. It's not going to last much longer.
But we put it on Gov Deals, and she said you'd be surprised. And, people's paying high dollar for
Well, yeah, 'cause
mowers
people
and trucks
can't-
and all that kind of
People
stuff.
can't get it from the dealers, so.
So basically, we're going to get a brand new mower for what we paid for this one back in 2006, is what you're saying,
Yes.
though. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good to
So-
me.
So if council would like to bless that or make a motion or something, then that way I could, once
I mean,
the
if
auction
that meets
ends,
the
I can-
criteria that you're looking for, And they can, I mean, I know they can't promise you they can get it, but I'm okay with it. So,
Yeah, I can make a motion to give the village administrator the authority to pursue purchasing the mower or to purchase the mower to replace the one that we have.
I'll
without-
second.
Without, as long as it stays within, and I'll say, under $15,000 or whatever it is that we're doing.
Motion by Mr. Babcock, second by Mr. Whitaker. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Babcock,
Sure. Maybe yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
How many total mowers do you have?
We have 3. So we still got 2, the next one we would be getting rid of is be a 2001. Actually, it's running pretty good with a little less miles or a little less hours on it. But so that's why we want to get rid of this one. I mean, it still runs good. Like I say, we put a new clutch in it, and
It's getting the
but
cost
just
from a maintenance
it's,
standpoint.
the frame's been cracked and broke and welded, and so just wanted to get rid of that. So
Can we go back on this a second? Should we anticipate a larger tractor than perhaps we need at this point for next year because of the possibility of having increased demand upon that tractor once we go into this agreement?
something to look into, or get something. It all depends how much is going to be grass. If you get one of those wing mowers or something, where you're
Right. I don't know what, because commercial size, 72 is probably the
72
biggest
is
you
the
can
biggest.
get.
Yeah,
Unless you went up to the, like you're saying, the wings.
the
like
wing
we
mower
have out at the
and-
base.
Yeah.
Because it appears that we're going to have to.
I can't see
have
us needing that though.
a significant more maintenance possibility here in next year or something like that, perhaps.
Well, if we need to replace the 2001 one, maybe we could wait till that time, and then we'll know for sure if we need a bigger one at that point in time,
And
maybe.
to me, I think, as we get further down the line with that property, maybe some people that would end up using it could do some of the mowing and maintenance and stuff as well. That's my
You talking
thought.
about like on a volunteer basis or something like that?
Right,
Scouting or whatever,
Right.
football,
right. Whoever's
baseball,
using
soccer
it,
associations, things
Right.
like that.
that would be my thought. And I know that they already
That when I was
currently
a
do
kid,
it.
for my own, I do remember that.
So,
Without getting too far ahead, rather than where we thought maybe it was going to be on alternating years, it's not going to be that. It's going to be on a regular alternating basis. So it's not going to be year to year with the new agreement.
You mean with the maintenance, though? Is that what you're talking? You're talking about with the maintenance? So
Right.
like maybe every 2 months, every 3 months?
I'd say, maybe
Monthly.
every other, I don't know how we're going to do that, but it's not going to be year to year,
Okay.
which we had initially thought was where we were trying to go with it. So,
yeah.
it's going to be more on a regular basis, where it might be monthly or weekly or where it was going to break down to, but
and I think there's some time before that happens. Till there's grass out there.
Oh, I think
Right.
so too.
The old saying is we cross that bridge when we get to it.
But yes, it's something to keep in mind for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
The mower
Good-
size.
good
But
point.
if you have one that's going to need replaced in the next year or two, maybe that's the time to.
And we'll readjust at that time.
Right. I think you're going to need a 60 regardless.
Definitely.
Any other comments? Okay.
Something that I'm thinking about as well, we have that 2001 Ford F550 that we basically is sitting. The dump bed is very rusted out, can't use it basically. The frame is rusted. The engine is good. So I'm thinking eventually, if it's not this year, that's going to be replaced. I'm thinking about putting that on Gov Deals as well.
yeah, with the shape that it's in, I would highly
You know,
recommend. go ahead
and maybe
just put it on
possibly
Gov
looking
Deals.
into even not necessarily a used or a new one, but maybe a used 250 or 350 instead of another 550, you know.
So just a little bit of history on that. We bring this up in our staff meetings every once in a while. We had a staff meeting last week, and we talked about this, and we are at the same spot that we were, it seemed like 2 years ago with that vehicle. The engine is good. The body is bad. It needs, a leaf spring?
Leaf springs broke on it, and
So-
we just had some of the brake lines replaced on it. And
We don't, and here's the thing about it, we don't use it really for anything other than when we have our seasonal help in and we need transportation to go back and forth. So we came to the conclusion, it's like, okay, if you can't fix it up, if it's not worth putting that money into, the engine is still good, somebody's probably going to give you pretty decent money
Oh, yeah.
for that particular truck. But it's a 2001.
I'd
And
say surplus it, surplus it. Well, you can still have some value to it, perhaps.
And then turn around and get something realistic for transportation for our seasonal help, something that they can use. You know, it doesn't have to be anything brand new, like you said, but it just makes sense. And again, we've been talking about this thing for the last 3 years.
We had ideas of putting a flatbed on it, but
Yeah.
you know, I priced out flatbeds, and you're looking at close to $6,000 for a flatbed.
And you
So
don't have
it's-
anything to put it on, because
Yeah.
if you put the bed, I mean, it would.
Much for a
So,
flatbed,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'd
wouldn't
say,
guess
I'd
that.
say surplus, put it as surplus while we're doing gov deals, and if we need to make a motion on that, so be it, but,
I would agree.
yeah,
we've been talking about it for years.
yeah, I move, what year is that, Kevin?
So 2001.
I move the 2001 to be surplused out to gov deals. Motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Hannah, second by Mr. Whitaker. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
What else do you guys use that truck? I mean, I know you're saying transportation of people. Do you pull little trailers and stuff like that? To move?
We haven't. I mean, you know, we don't put any stone or dirt in it because there's so many holes in it. I mean, if there's big stuff that we, throw in there, tree limbs and stuff, but other than that, it's
Right.
you know,
That is all good.
it's all good.
I mean,
It's a great truck.
we really probably don't even need a 250 or a 350. I mean, really, we could probably get a F-150 or a 1500 Chevy or
Something, yeah.
something more
Yes.
economical
Well,
for
they're
us.
also relegated to only using it for
Right.
transportation.
Right.
If we got a 250 or a 350, that it would expand their capability
Sure.
to use the truck, other than what they're forced to use it now. So
I noticed Riverside, if you go by Riverside's vehicle lot back there behind the police department, they've got probably 6 pickup trucks that are all equipped with salt spreaders on them. So I thought that was interesting, that as much road as what they have down there, as residential as what it is, that they don't, they have some salt trucks, but it looked to me like the majority of the trucks they were using for salt was pickup trucks with the portable
Spreader in the back.
Spreader on the
stuff
back on the
So,
tailgate or something.
maybe a club cab with that, where we could use put a plow on it and put a spreader on it, and during winter time, and
Yeah.
just make sure it could serve dual purposes. But that would the club cab you could use for your transportation, but it'd also be serviceable for other purposes too.
Can
we gotta
we-
look at what our needs are? But I mean, right now we're forced to use it only for that.
Right.
But if we have other maintenance needs,
Right.
then we should consider buying a vehicle that better meets our needs.
Yep.
Can we find good equipment on that gov deals ourselves? I mean,
Yeah,
I
I can-
just don't know. I'm not that familiar
Yep,
with it.
I can get on there and if you find something, you can sign in and bid on it or whatever. We've bought stuff off there before.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
Is that where we bought the water truck off of? The white truck?
I wasn't around when you guys bought that.
We bought that from
That big van?
I'm trying to remember if that was a government agency or whether we bought that from a dealership, but there was something to that. I'm trying to recall.
So, okay. Last thing on my list, the county sent out their resurfacing not the agreement, but kind of a questionnaire on, what roads we were thinking of doing this year, so they can start the bidding process or get the information and start the bidding process. So,
And
and
your first response was?
my first, we've been talking about Countryside, for quite some time.
No, that wasn't what I was thinking, but
Oh.
I'm just joking. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss it?
I was looking at Enid Xenia.
Yeah, right, yeah. But Countryside and another is Sunnybrook down in that cul-de-sac area that, I don't know if anybody's been down in that area, but, with the garbage trucks going around there, and that's in really bad shape, in my opinion, but.
So just a word for planning, like Mr. Babcock brought up, this will be the year that we will be doing Enon Xenia from the intersection down to Green Vista. And I think our share was going to be about 60 grand, right? So you'll have to look and see what you've got in there, budgeted wise, what you would have left over to do. Can you do one street? Can you do two streets? I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But so just kind of a little heads up there. We want to make sure that Enon Xenia gets done.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So,
That's been long overdue.
Before apple butter,
Yeah. When is that, October?
the second full weekend in October.
I think John would love to have.
Do you need this ordinance too, Kevin?
What's that?
Do you need this ordinance, or is that under?
Yeah, that ordinance needs to be adopted too. Let's see if I can find it. Thank you.
Oh, posted.
Buried. It's emergency ordinance 22-2. It's an ordinance amending the previously adopted section 123.01 for the Village of Enon codified ordinances, establishing locations for the postings of public meetings. We had to go in and adjust because some of the posting places, there was a couple there that was no longer here or something. So the 5 listed there is the Enon Government Center, Post Office, the Public Library, Rite Aid, and Cary Gin.
It's amazing this day and age, you still have to do this, right? You have to literally post a hard copy somewhere in your community. So it's a good thing, though.
I'll make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
Second,
Motion by Mr. Hannah, second by Mrs. Sweet. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes. I'll further make a motion to accept emergency ordinance 2022-02.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Hannah, second by Mr. Bear. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance number 2022-02 does pass. That takes effect immediately.
And that's all I have for now, Mayor.
Okay, good report, thank you. Questions for our administrator? Okay, seeing none. Chief, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council and residents. The first thing on my agenda here is National Night Out, which is held on the first Tuesday of August this year. That's August 2nd, 2022. I just have a rough set of time there, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's been a couple of years since we've done that. I'm glad to get back to it, but we can finalize a time. But Officer Dunham's going to head that up this year. She did it in 2019, did a fantastic job, so should be reaching out to you folks. She spoke to Green in School already, and Superintendent Darren Knapke just asked it when it gets closer to that time and the area that we would use to get with him and plan it, but it sounded like they were good with it being at school again. So, and for those of you that aren't sure what National Night Out is, that is a annual law enforcement first responders night out. We have a very big turnout, and in the past has been said that we've had one of the better ones in the county, so we like to keep that rolling.
It's a nationwide event, actually.
Yes, it is. Yes. So we usually have a really good turnout, so I hope to have another one this year, especially after it's been 2 years now.
I think it's the best in Clark County. That's just my opinion.
I mean,
I agree.
you know.
I totally agree.
Unbiased one, right, Tim?
I'm totally unbiased.
In front of you, you'll see a document that is listed there, February. That's the February stats. Yeah, looks like we had about 91 dispatches and 8 citations. I did not break that down into the courts, but your assist and down to 1 property crash for that month. That was good. Our crashes were up the last few months, so it's good to see that those are down. And at the bottom, written in my beautiful handwriting, it's just the number of stops for each officer. I usually track those and do not have a number that they're required to do anymore. It used to be 10, but I've went away from that and just encouraged them to be proactive and busy their time, and I'll continue to do that. The second set you have is highlighted there, the January 1st to December 31st. Those are broke down into geocodes. Again, this is our report system. It's we get free from the state. It's good for the new upgrade's not as good as the nice diagrams and such as we had in the past, and our geocodes are broke down. I'll give you an example. Is the Main Street out here. If you're on the north side of Main Street, that's the north, and if you're on the south side, that's the south. And then, of course, South Enid and Xenia would separate the east from the west. We tried to break it down a little more than that, which there are spots in there, but that was done long before me, and I probably need to reevaluate it. I'm hoping once we get on the new Spillman system with the county, we'll have a lot better numbers. Again, I want to highlight that these are manually created calls for service, not actual calls that we're dispatched on, but ones that the officers go in and manually enter. Because we don't have a CAD system of our own, they have to create their own report number, and there are some things that just takes more time to create a call number than it would be time consumption, the shorts, So their time's better occupied, but at the very bottom of the last page, it shows approximately 1,048 calls. And if you remember from when we were talking about our total calls for service and stuff, when we were going over the dispatch fees, that's a little short. But that's just a rough idea. You feel free to look over that. If you have any questions, my door's always open. The third thing I had, we had talked a couple months back about I'd requested possibly a stipend for the essential workers during the COVID times. We haven't talked about that since. I just wanted to plant that seed again and see if we had any new thoughts on it.
I will give you my 2 cents. I think that
Take 2 cents.
we could do something for our employees, and according to the regulations of how those funds can be used, if the council would choose to do some type of, let's say, stipend, there are a couple things that, and I did talk to our solicitor about this, that the employee would have to meet, and it's a either this or that. And the one part says the work must involve regular in-person interactions with the public or other co-workers, and that would be the criteria to meet the stipend, the pay. So I think we would all agree that you'd meet that in the administrative departments and the police departments. So.
Okay, I will leave that in your hands. I just said I'd bring it back up, so I did. On my miscellaneous communications, as Councilman Hanna was nice enough on that very weathered day that we received our new cruiser, he took some better photos than I did and was passing them out. But our new patrol car is outfitted and it's being used. I really like this, the 2021 design on the inside. The seat works a lot better. The officers are enjoying it. We do appreciate it, and it was very much needed. But it is out there, and it's serving the village well.
And
So,
it is sharp looking. It
It
is
is.
a nice looking cruiser.
It is.
Put it in service this week, last week?
When did we get that big ice storm? when was that? A week.
Couple weeks ago?
Yeah. So we
Week
got
and a
it
half
that
ago?
Friday. I let her sit in the parking lot. You know.
Jeez, I wonder why.
Yeah.
We I knock on wood. We have some really good professional drivers, but nobody wanted to be that person that may have been the victim of whatever. So we let it set. We took it out Sunday and they drove it out, and it's in service on a regular rotational basis. So, but yeah, it's there. We that was the first one I'd ordered. I mean, obviously I've been here a while. I've been a part of ordering them. But that was the first one I got the experience of ordering, and of course I had some stumbling blocks with some sales. But at any rate, by working with going in each little part of it, I've learned a lot, and I've learned that maybe we don't have to get so much on them because what we want versus what the factory can give you for a deal maybe isn't necessarily the route we'll go in the future. But at any rate, it's there. Yipes Stripes did a very good job of putting the vinyl on it like they always do, and then PNR Communications down in Dayton, especially Jerome, their one main guy. They're awesome, so they took care of us really well. So, and then the officers are taking care of it, so that's good. Also, I went into our new Domino's. I don't know if y'all have had time to go in there, but it's here and open. I tried to order some food from there last week, and I was told that they were closed through Friday because they were moving. So I did make a joke with the owner, telling him it can't be closed. But I went in there today. It's a beautiful store. It's roomy. It's clean. The exterior has looked good. The propane tank's finally gone. I'm sure everybody questioned that. I know I did. But at any rate, it looks fantastic, and I just wanted to point that new business out in the village. It looks good.
It does look good.
And then back in 2020 at Jane Cross from the Enon Library had asked me to do to hold a training on to help people recognize the fraud and identity theft. And unfortunately, COVID struck, and I wasn't able to get in there. I was going to do a video. We thought about trying to get a video and post it, but even though I can talk in a group full of people until the cows come home, I have a hard time doing it in front of a camera by myself. But at any rate, she's reached out to me, and we've set up dates of May 16th or 23rd. They'll be posting something soon. It should be on their website, and then we'll get something out here once we get it set in stone. It'll be, I believe it was a Monday evening, but I'll be hosting a fraud scam program for the citizens, and that'll be one of hopefully many to help people recognize that. And
It's unfortunate we need to do that.
it is.
But it happens, even
Yeah.
in Enon, Ohio.
Well, it happens across the world. That's correct. And everybody, heck, I mean, I get scam calls. It's not necessarily the calls, but to help, answer a lot of questions that everybody has. So that's my forte. So it should be pretty simple, and I hope pull a large crowd, and hopefully we can educate everybody and put a stop to that. I believe that's all I have. If
Thank
anybody
you
has
for
any
your
questions,
report.
I'll field them.
Questions for our chief? Okay,
Thank
seeing
you.
none. Thanks, chief. We have no committee reports.
I have something I should have brought up at the start and I forgot, but it probably belongs in committee reports.
Okay, we do have committee reports.
I had a
okay.
resident suggestion, and I'm thinking it would fall under Parks and Beautification. So Ben, this is for you. I'm not positive, but I think there used to be like a monthly or quarterly beautification award for a resident's house property.
There was.
Had a resident bring it up to me why we don't do that anymore. I'm not sure if we did it or someone else did it, but just something to think about. Might spark some interest in beautifying our village.
So Ruth Peters was a council person, and I believe the organization that in part either took it over or formed it was called the Enon Area Beautification Committee, I believe was the name of it. And they did a monthly, I believe, award in the summertime for properties that were well kept. So I like the idea. I think it's great.
I think it's a good idea.
So
Said I'd pass it along. So I pass
Thanks.
it along to you.
Yeah, definitely something to think about.
any other committee reports? Old business, new business?
Mayor, I forgot something, just real quick.
Sure.
I know I talked about it a couple meetings back about the AARP Community Challenge Grant. I didn't know if anybody had any time to think about that or if you want me to apply for it. It's due March 22nd. I know we applied for it last year and did not get any funding. There's no matching funds required. I thought with the walk path going in, that might help out to maybe possibly get some nicer trash cans, benches, sunshades, a community bulletin board, fitness trail equipment, stuff like that. That's kind of the stuff they're funding. Looking at some of the past recipients. So
What's the deadline on that, Kevin?
March 22nd.
Okay.
Kevin, it might behoove us to start looking at, maybe start getting some incremental ADA type devices where we're in preparation for the park, where we could start with some ADA compliant items. And I'd like to see that as part of that, our future endeavor, to have a very nice ADA compliant facility.
Sure.
So that might be, some way to start prepping that to possibly future need for that part of it.
So what was the application for last year?
It was for the
Streetlights.
Streetlights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe kind of gear it more towards recreational. Might have a better chance.
Might have a better chance. Bringing the community together. That's kind of their theme. More livable community. So
Do
just
we
a
need to
thought,
have
but it's the 22nd.
right,
So.
which is the next council meeting, but you're gonna need stuff figured out before then. Should we have a committee meeting or parks maybe if you're pushing towards that, or do you want to head it up and
That's up to you.
you
If
can
you
push
just
to the
want
council
to.
what your suggestions are?
Those are just some suggestions that I know that has been funded in the past. Not that, it's no guarantee, but yeah.
So the question is, does the park committee maybe want to have some input as a committee as to what direction, or does
If so, we need to
leave-
schedule a meeting.
Yeah, leave it in your hands, and the idea of a park committee meeting isn't a bad one, I don't think, for this particular.
If you have the bandwidth to submit it, Kevin, I think it'd be a great idea.
I have a suggestion, maybe possibly that. Since the Eagle Scout or Boy Scout, the young man's going to put in the Gaga ball pit down there at the park, maybe
Yes.
see some funding for a couple benches right there, so while they're in between games, they'd have somewhere to sit rather than on the grass.
Ben, what do you think?
What, you're the chair.
We can schedule a meeting next Tuesday if everyone's available. That gives you a week.
You let me know. Yep.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I mean, you could start it.
I can start, get all the
Right,
preliminary
and
stuff
then
done.
just
Yep.
refine it based on whatever input the parks.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that.
Who's on that?
Um,
It's in the
Me, Mr.
report
Avery.
you
It's
just
in the
gave
packet
us.
there.
Me,
Mr. Bear, Mr.
Avery,
Hannah,
yeah.
Mr. Avery.
I'll be there too.
You gentlemen available next Tuesday?
I will not be.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, if you want to, that's fine. Ms. Voitko also sent me an email today that had a couple more opportunities for grants too, so I've not really looked at it. I just saw it was in my email this afternoon.
Mr. Avery, do you have any availability next week? Would say it would be better. We can do it. Tuesday if you're not there.
I'm probably gonna be down for
Yeah, let's just,
Okay.
we can go ahead and plan it. And
All right,
we'll-
let's just
we'll
shoot
work
for
around
the
that.
15th then. 6:30.
Good with me.
6:30?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get it posted. Thank you.
Let's roll with that.
6:30
Tuesday the
next week.
15th at 6:30.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Comments from our public this evening. Mr. Henry, good evening. Would you like to address council? Good to see you.
All day, man. I started at German Township 8 o'clock this morning. Mayor Howard and council and citizens. I guess you could say I'm kind of on a double mission. I'm trying to run for county commission again as an independent, and of course, Democrat and a Republican only have to get 50 signatures to get on the ballot. Well, an independent has to get 348.
Oh, my goodness.
Right there. Something's not right. But at any rate, you know, I consider myself to be an American first, and whatever I do is for everybody. I don't like to be put in a box because I think outside the box, you know. So been working on that. So the other thing is I suggested to the county commissioners back last June and again in September to build a 4-H museum. And so, you know, it kind of got lost in the shuffle and they don't consider it to be a priority. Well, I've been passing petitions for names to convince them that it is a priority for Clark County. And, you know, we're the birthplace of 4-H.
4-H.
We should have a museum, and I'd like to see it out at the fairgrounds right next to the highway. They're talking about building a hotel out there on the old armory site. They ought to connect a 4-H museum to it. So I'm working on those two different projects. So just came to see if anybody here would be interested in signing one petition or the other, or both. So
And you're welcome to stay around after the meeting and
I'll be here.
talk to people. So,
I'll
yeah,
be here. Thank you.
it was good to see you.
Pleasure's all
Yeah.
mine.
Anyone else? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait
Mo-
a minute.
Motion by Mr. Hannah, second by
Second.
Mr. Whitaker.
That was pretty quick.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Same sign.
Meeting adjourned.
Got me again. Good.
7:56.
Mr. Hannah.
Quick, brother.
You are overstepping your
Zoom,
bounds.
jumping all over.